Welcome to Daily Review, your daily dose of literary exploration. We dive into books that spark curiosity and ignite growth. While our passion often leads us to nonfiction reads that empower and improve your life, no book is off limits. From gripping thrillers to insightful memoirs and compelling fiction to historical accounts, we're here to share and discuss all the interesting reads we discover. Tune in for your next great book idea.
And today, we're diving deep into Timothy Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek. This one's a bit different, isn't it? It really challenges the whole work-life structure we tend to follow.
It really does. It's less about, climbing the corporate ladder in the usual way and more about, well, he calls it lifestyle design.
Exactly, lifestyle design.
So for you, our listener, we want to unpack some of the key ideas, the surprising stuff maybe, in Ferriss's approach. The goal today is really to explore how you might apply some of these concepts to, get a bit more freedom, more flexibility in your own life.
Yeah, looking at things like, can you actually make more while working less? And these kind of radical ideas like mini retirements and working from anywhere.
Location independence, yeah.
And it helps to know where Ferriss is coming from. He's not just some theorist. He's got this really varied background. Fast Company named him one of their most innovative business people. He's an angel investor, best-selling author.
Lectures at Princeton, right?
Right, on using entrepreneurship for lifestyle design. Plus, he founded a company, holds a Guinness World Record in tango. I mean, it's diverse.
Tang, that definitely informs an unconventional approach.
Doesn't it? So that mix of experience really shapes how he looks at work and life.
Absolutely. So we'll be pulling from different parts of the book. There's that last but not least section, which has some great bits. The art of letting bad things happen, the not-to-do list, always useful, plus outsourcing your inbox.
And those case studies are really interesting, too. The people actually living this stuff and the bonus bits on language learning, revenue prediction, lots to dig into.
Definitely. So the mission for this deep dive, really, is to give you a good handle on the core principles of the 4-hour workweek. Kind of a shortcut to understanding his main points and maybe, just maybe, spark some different ways of thinking about how you use your time and energy.
Sounds good. Where should we start? That core challenge to the status quo.
Yeah, let's start there, because the book really kicks off by questioning that whole work yourself to the bone for 40 years and then enjoy life model.
Right. He puts it so bluntly, doesn't he? Like, well, what is the pot of gold that justifies spending the best years of your life hoping for happiness in the last? Oof.
It hits hard. It forces you to think, is that deferred life plan really the only way, or even the best way?
And that's where lifestyle design comes in as the alternative. It's presented as much more flexible, more adaptable than planning your career in rigid stages, Life throws curveballs.
Things change.
Exactly. Lifestyle design is about building in that adaptability from the start.
And this leads to his concept of the new rich, the NR, which isn't just about money, is it?
Not at all. That's the key shift. For the new rich, the real currencies are time and mobility. Freedom, basically.
So it's not just absolute income, how much you make overall, but relative income.
Precisely. How much you earn per hour worked. That becomes the metric that matters if you value time as much as or more than money.
Okay, so that's the philosophical shift. How does he suggest actually making this happen? He has that framework, right? DEAL.
Yep, DEAL. Definition, elimination, automation, and liberation. It's the roadmap.
So let's start with D definition. What needs defining first?
Well, interestingly, the first thing isn't goals, it's fears. Ferriss really hammers this point. He says we get paralyzed by vague anxieties. So step one is to define your fears. Like actually write them down. What's the absolute worst thing that could happen if you tried something new? What's the probability? How could you recover?
We're like shining a light on the monster under the bed.
Exactly. He even quotes Seneca, asking yourself, is this the condition that I feared? Once you define it, it often loses its power.
That makes a lot of sense. It's less scary when it's specific.
Right. And then, still under definition, he talks about setting unreasonable goals. Which sounds counterintuitive.
Unreasonable. Why?
His theory is that really big, ambitious, maybe slightly crazy goals can actually be easier to achieve.
Easier? How?
Because they generate so much more excitement and adrenaline. Think about the motivation difference. Planning a weekend trip to, say, Columbus, Ohio, versus planning a catamaran trip around the Greek islands.
Okay, yeah. Big difference in excitement levels.
That bigger goal pulls you forward. The sheer scale of it provides the energy.
I can see that. The audacity helps you push through things.
And the other critical part of definition is specificity. He learned this the hard way. His first company, BrainQuippin, was making money. But he was still working insane hours because he hadn't actually defined what he wanted to do with the time and money. He didn't have an alternative vision.
So it wasn't just about the money goal, but what the money enabled. The lifestyle goal.
Exactly. Without that clear picture, you just stay on the hamster wheel, even if it's a profitable one.
That's a really key point for anyone listening. Define the why.
Absolutely. And one last bit under definition. Comfort challenges. Little exercises to push your comfort zone slightly, making it easier to take bigger leaps later, kind of conditioning yourself.
Okay, got it. Define fears, set big goals, get specific, and practice discomfort. That's D. What about E, elimination?
Right, E for elimination. This is about cutting the fat, getting rid of the stuff that wastes time and doesn't produce results. And the big tool here is the 80-20 principle.
Pareto's law. The idea that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts.
Exactly. But Ferriss says apply it everywhere. Find the 20% of customers bringing 80% of the profit and the 20% of activities causing 80% of your problems or time waste.
So focus on the vital few. Eliminate the trivial many.
Precisely. He gives his own example. 5 out of 120 wholesale customers generated 95% of his revenue, yet he was spending time on all 120. The insight is to surgically remove or minimize the low-impact stuff.
That takes discipline, I imagine. Letting go of clients or tasks.
It does. But it's essential for freeing up time. He also brings in Parkinson's law.
Ah, yes. Work expands to fill the time available.
Right. So, flip it. Give yourself shorter deadlines. Force yourself to be efficient. If a task could take a day, but you give yourself a week.
It'll take a week. Yep, definitely seen that happen.
We all have. Another tactic under elimination is batching.
Batching.
Yeah, grouping similar tasks together, do all your emails at once, make all your calls in one block, reduces that mental cost of switching gears constantly.
Like running all your errands in one go. Makes sense.
Totally. And then there's the low information diet. This one's tough for some people.
Low information diet, meaning?
Cultivating selective ignorance. Basically, stop consuming information that isn't essential or directly useful. Protect your focus. He quotes Einstein on how reading can distract from creative thought.
Wow. So less news, less random web surfing.
Pretty much. He suggests trying a 1-week media fast just to see how much noise you're filtering out or usually not filtering out.
A media fast. That sounds challenging, but probably quite revealing.
It's meant to be. It also ties into mastering refusal, saying no to things, avoiding pointless meetings. He mentions a VP who was brilliant at this, very direct but respectful of time.
Learning to say no effectively is a superpower.
It really is. And finally, under E, streamlining communication, especially email. Using clearer structures, maybe if-then statements, responding to voicemails via email to keep things concise.
Okay, so elimination is about being ruthless with your time and attention.
Yeah.
Got it. D-E, what's A?
A is for automation. This is where you build systems so things run without you needing to be constantly involved. And a big part of this is outsourcing.
Outsourcing, like using virtual assistants, VAs.
Exactly. And Ferriss argues this isn't just for big companies anymore. The internet makes it way more accessible.
I always thought VAs were expensive or complicated.
He breaks it down. Golden rules are outsource tasks that are time-consuming and well-defined, things you can create clear instructions for.
What kind of tasks?
Oh, anything from scheduling, research, managing email, personal errands. He gives examples of people outsourcing, finding gifts, planning trips, even, believe it or not, helping someone else get a job.
Wow, okay. That's broader than I thought. What about the cost?
He talks a lot about using international VAs, where the cost difference can be significant. But the key, he stresses, is super clear communication. Define the task precisely, set deadlines, maybe even have them rephrase it back to you to confirm understanding.
Communication is always key, especially remote and cross-cultural. Makes sense.
Absolutely. But automation isn't just about delegating tasks. It's also about building what he calls a muse.
A muse, like inspiration.
Well, kind of. But it's a business muse. A business designed from the ground up to generate cash flow without consuming much of your time. An automated income stream.
Okay. Like an online business that runs itself.
Often, yeah. He particularly recommends information products, ebooks, courses, niche websites because they have low overhead and are harder for competitors to just copy.
Creating passive or semi-passive income, essentially.
That's the goal. And related to building a muse, he talks about becoming a perceived expert quickly, not necessarily by being the most knowledgeable, but by using credibility indicators.
How do you do that?
Things like giving free seminars, writing articles for trade publications, using services like ProfNet to connect with journalists looking for sources. It's about positioning.
Interesting. Strategic visibility.
Right. And crucially, before you build the whole muse, you microtest the idea.
Microtest.
Use cheap online ads, like Google AdWords back then, to see if people actually click on an offer for your potential product before you create it. Test the demand first. He gives an example of ProSoundEffects.com doing this successfully.
Smart. Validate the market before investing heavily. Minimizes risk.
Exactly. And then you structure the business for management by absence, his MBA acronym.
Yeah.
Build systems so it runs smoothly without your constant input.
Management by absence. I like that.
It sums it up well. He also touches on using strong guarantees to make it easier for customers to buy, and using things like remote receptionists or IVR systems to handle initial interactions.
So automation is really about system building, leveraging technology, and other people to free up your own time.
Precisely. Which leads us nicely to the final letter, L for liberation.
Liberation. This sounds like the payoff.
It is. This is about actually using the freedom you've created through definition, elimination, and automation. One key concept here is geographic arbitrage.
Geographic arbitrage. Earning in one currency, spending in another.
Basically, yeah. Earning money where salaries or business income is high, like the U.S. or Western Europe, but living somewhere the cost of living is much lower. Your money goes way further. He mentions living in New Caledonia for less than rent in Paris.
That's powerful. Leverages global economic differences for personal lifestyle gain.
Absolutely. And then there are the mini retirements.
Ah, yes, I like the sound of these.
Yeah.
Not waiting till 65.
Exactly. Instead of one massive retirement at the end, take extended breaks, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months throughout your life. Relocate somewhere interesting, learn something new, travel, just recharge and reevaluate.
That sounds incredible. A way to actually live life along the way. And cheaper, too. Potentially, you go somewhere affordable.
Often much cheaper than living at home, yeah. He gives practical tips, too, finding cheap flights, the importance of decluttering before you go.
Oh, yeah. Can't drag everything with you.
Definitely not. And automating finances, setting up remote access, the logistics of being location independent.
Making you practical.
Right. But he also addresses the potential downsides. What happens after you're liberated? Boredom can set in, social isolation.
The what now question.
Exactly. You need to consciously fill the void left by work with meaningful activities, projects, connections. It's not just about escaping the bad, but actively pursuing the good.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
Freedom needs purpose.
It does. And under liberation, he revisits mindset stuff too, like the art of letting bad things happen, not sweating the small stuff that inevitably goes wrong, and keeping that not-to-do list handy so you don't slip back into old habits.
Staying vigilant.
And he includes practical advice on negotiating remote work, like the example of Autumn Brookmeyer getting approval to work from Argentina.
So liberation is the reward, but it also requires ongoing management and mindset work. It's not just about escaping to freedom, but knowing what to do with it.
Well put. It's an active process.
Okay, so that's the DEAL framework.
Yeah.
Thinking about you, the learner, what are the big takeaways here? What should stick with someone after hearing all this?
Well, I think the biggest one is probably that you don't have to accept the default path. You don't have to wait decades for freedom, that alternative ways of structuring work and life are actually possible.
Yeah, that permission to even think differently is powerful. And the idea that small strategic changes like focusing on the 80-20 or batching tasks can have a disproportionately large impact on your time.
Absolutely. And for someone interested in learning and growth, that idea of using outsourcing and automation to free up mental bandwidth, that's huge. Imagine having more time to dedicate purely to learning, to pursuing interests, right?
Definitely. Reclaiming time for learning. And those mini retirements. I mean, talk about immersive learning opportunities, living somewhere new, experiencing a different culture.
It's learning in the real world, not just from books. So books are great too.
Of course. And it all seems to hinge on that first step, definition. Really getting clear about your fears, yes, but also what you actually want. What do your ideal lifestyle look like? That seems foundational.
It really is. Without that clarity, the rest is just optimizing the cage, maybe. You need the vision first.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? The 4-hour work week. It really offers this compelling alternative, doesn't it? It pushes you to question the assumptions you might have about work, about retirement, about what's possible.
Yeah, it encourages you to experiment, to try things out, and really consciously design a life that puts your time and your passions front and center.
We've really just skimmed the surface today, haven't we? There's so much practical detail in the book, specific tools, negotiation scripts, mindset shifts around fear, productivity hacks.
Oh yeah, tons of actionable stuff.
So if this deep dive has got you thinking, if you're curious about maybe designing your own version of this, doesn't have to be 4 hours, maybe just more freedom, we definitely recommend checking out the book itself. There's a link in our description.
And maybe just consider this. What's one tiny thing, one small change you could maybe implement this week based on what we talked about?
Yeah, could you identify just one low-value task that eats up your time?
Mm.
Or maybe, just maybe, take 5 minutes to actually write down one fear that's been holding you back. Just a small step.
Small steps can lead to big changes.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Daily Review. We truly appreciate you joining us for your daily dose of literary exploration. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to share these amazing books with you.
If today's review sparked your interest and you're ready to dive into a copy of the book, please consider using the link in our description to make your purchase. Not only does it make it easy for you to get your hands on the book, but it also directly supports our channel and the author, allowing us to keep bringing you more great content. Thanks again for being a part of the Daily Review community.
And we'll leave you with this thought-provoking idea from the book. The goal is not to simply eliminate the bad, which does nothing more than leave you with a vacuum, but to pursue and experience the best in the world.
So what does the best in the world look like for you? And what steps, even tiny ones, can you take to create more space for it in your life?
Join us next time for another literary exploration.